So I started doing drawing at conferences, archaeological conferences, and also things like work meetings because I had seen sketchnoting at other conferences. Sketchnoting is where somebody in the audience draws what it is that they're hearing at a lecture, a presentation, any kind of meeting, and it provides a visual output rather than written text minutes. So it is quick. It's about trying to capture the atmosphere and the absolutely essential content of what's being said, of what's being presented in the lecture. You have to concentrate and get the key messages. So I saw it being done by other people and thought, this is really interesting and suits certainly the visual way of thinking that I have. So I thought I would have a go, and it's something that I've used on and off, both in a work context, for lectures, for conferences, for myself, and also to share with other people. I don't always do it. Sometimes for a lecture, it's more important for me to take standard text written notes that I have and refer to later on, but sometimes sketchnoting, the kind of drawn summary of what's happening, is more effective and a better way of going about things. And it's quite engaging as well. People often like to look at them, and if you've just got one image, it might be a side of A4, a side of A3. You can do it big poster size, but it's a way of capturing in one go everything from that moment. So yeah, I saw other people doing it and thought I would have a go, and it's stuck. You do need to practice it though. It does take practice to be able to do it. So for those of you who don't know, Inktober is something that happens each year in October. It's a drawing challenge. So each day there is a prompt from the 1st of October to the end of the month. The prompt is a word. It could be a thing, an emotion, some kind of topic. But an amazing archaeologist in Canada started a thing called Arc Ink. So we do Inktober, but we do it with archaeological prompts each day. So it might be an archaeological word, it might be to do with methods and archaeological practice, it might be to do with archaeological theory. They could be words that are emotions or feelings as well, or most recently we did book titles, archaeological book titles. So you need just one small drawing that answers to the prompt of the day. I almost always draw simple black and white line drawings as it is. And so setting myself the challenge of a single line drawing in a square, in a box that meets the answers to the prompt for the day is quite a good way of helping to constrain what I draw, but also to frame what I draw and give me the space to do that drawing in. So I don't find it at all difficult to hold back detail, because I often don't put detail in. I'm trying to express something with the most economy of line as it is. So yeah, I find that easier to do, to give myself that challenge. I work almost exclusively in pen and ink, so black ink on white paper. I hand draw. I don't draw digitally. I hand draw on the page. I rarely introduce color, and sometimes that will be coloring pencils into the black and white drawing. Sometimes I'll just do the black and white drawing, which I will then scan and introduce a little bit of color in Photoshop. It depends what the end product is going to be. If, for example, I want a consistency of color palette, or I'm only coloring in a few things, it might even be that I'm just doing a black fill, and rather than coloring in by hand using a lot of ink, I might do that as a bucket fill in Photoshop. But that's essentially all that I do. I always start the work that I'm doing with with some sketches and with an idea of what it is that I'm trying to communicate. And in fact, I might even write in words, in text, what it is that I'm doing, what the story is, because often I'm drawing to make a poster or a zine, which is trying to communicate a message. So I'll start with that. That is quite a lot of preparation. For something like Arc Ink in Inktober, that's much more an instant reaction and a almost stream of consciousness kind of response, because I just think of what the prompt is and what's my immediate response to that. But everything else takes more preparation, especially because with something like a zine, a comic, an archaeological comic, you're working out what your panels are, what the story is, how that's going to be told sequentially through the drawings. And then that means, do you want to use tactics or techniques in comics, things like explosions out of the panel, a panel with no edges, a panel with edges? How's it going to work? What way are the figures, if you've got figures, what way are they going to be looking to take the eye through the story as well? Where will the text go if you're using text? So yeah, that does require quite a lot of preparation. So obviously I do quite a bit of drawing, but I do quite a bit of making as well. And in fact, my workshop at home is set up for doing woodworking, and I produce archaeological replicas, um, bowls and boxes, things like the little Must Farm box that was excavated by the Cambridge Archaeological Unit. It's a tiny little Bronze Age carved box. That's one of the most recent replicas that I've made. So that's three-dimensional work. It's very different to the flat two-dimensional drawing that I do, that invariably doesn't appear to have any kind of perspective in it at all. I do very much pattern making with my drawing, but work in 3 dimensions in wood. I'm not sure that I have a favorite piece of work. I am pleased when things come out well. So some of the posters that I've made, I'm quite happy with, because they tell a story well across the archaeological comic in the context of the poster, which is going to be presented to people, go up on the wall, and folks can have a look at. One or two things that I know have worked well because people have asked to reproduce them, to reuse them in different contexts. So that's really pleasing. You know, something's had the effect that you wanted, that it's getting the message across effectively, because people then want to look at it and want to reproduce and reuse it.